Real estate contracts are the backbone of any property transaction. They're legally binding agreements that outline the terms and conditions between buyers and sellers. Navigating these contracts can seem daunting, but a basic understanding of their components is crucial for anyone involved in real estate. These contracts dictate the rights and responsibilities of each party. They provide a roadmap for the entire transaction, from the initial offer to the final closing. Whether you're buying your dream home or selling an investment property, understanding these contracts is essential. A well-drafted contract protects all parties involved. It ensures clarity, minimizes disputes, and provides legal recourse if needed. Without a clear contract, misunderstandings can arise, leading to costly delays or even legal battles. Remember, knowledge is power. Taking the time to understand the basics of real estate contracts empowers you to make informed decisions and navigate the process with confidence. Not all real estate contracts are created equal. There are various types, each suited for different situations. Understanding the differences is key to selecting the right contract for your needs. One key distinction is between express and implied contracts. Express contracts are straightforward. The terms are clearly stated, either verbally or in writing. For example, a written agreement outlining the purchase price and closing date is an express contract. On the other hand, implied contracts are formed through actions and conduct. Imagine a scenario where you hire a contractor for renovations. You agree on the scope of work, but nothing is put in writing. This is an implied contract. Another important distinction is between unilateral and bilateral contracts. In a unilateral contract, one party makes a promise in exchange for an action. Think of a listing agreement where the seller promises to pay a commission if the agent finds a buyer. Bilateral contracts involve mutual promises from both sides. For instance, in a purchase agreement, the buyer promises to pay the agreed-upon price, and the seller promises to transfer ownership of the property. For a real estate contract to hold water, it must meet certain requirements. These essential elements ensure the contract is legally binding and enforceable. First and foremost, the contract must be voluntary. All parties involved must enter into the agreement willingly, without any pressure or coercion. A contract signed under duress is not legally valid. Second, there must be a clear agreement or promise. This involves a definite offer from one party and an unconditional acceptance from the other. Both parties must be on the same page regarding the terms. Third, all parties involved must be legally competent. This means they must be of legal age and mentally capable of understanding the contract's implications. Fourth, there must be lawful consideration. This refers to something of value exchanged between the parties. In most real estate transactions, the consideration is money, but it can also be other assets or services. Finally, the contract must have a legal purpose. It cannot be used for any illegal or unlawful activities. Once a real estate contract is signed, it's important to understand how it's performed and what can happen if things go wrong. Contract performance refers to the fulfillment of the obligations outlined in the agreement. A contract is considered executed when all parties have fully performed their obligations. This typically happens at closing, when the buyer has paid the purchase price and the seller has transferred the property title. An executory contract, on the other hand, is one where some obligations remain to be fulfilled. For example, if the buyer needs to secure financing before the sale is final, the contract is considered executory. It's also essential to distinguish between valid, void, voidable, and unenforceable contracts. A valid contract is one that meets all legal requirements and is legally binding. A void contract, on the other hand, lacks one or more essential elements and is unenforceable from the outset. A voidable contract is valid but can be rescinded by one of the parties under certain circumstances. For example, if a contract was signed under duress or misrepresentation, the party who was pressured or misled may have grounds to void the contract. An unenforceable contract is one that may be valid but cannot be enforced in court due to legal defenses. For instance, if the statute of limitations has expired on a breach of contract claim, the contract may be considered unenforceable.